Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the astrology that takes place from March 18th to April 1st. That is from the full moon to the next new moon. For today's video, we're going to talk about the planetary aspects that take place between March 18th and April 1st. And at this time, we're not going to talk about any retrograde planets. So this is the list of what's going to be happening in that period. So let's talk about these aspects in detail. First, we have Venus sextile Chiron on the 18th. So Chiron is all about our wounds, our traumas, and these can be emotional or physical. So Venus is ourselves, our nurtured self, what we need to be nurtured, our love language, how we feel about the feminine aspects of our character. So you may find it easier to admit that you have some sort of a wound or trauma at this time. You also may be finding it easier to admit that you need some healing. So now is the time to handle yourself very gently and also allow others to take care of you if that's what you really need. You may find an innate talent for healing within yourself as well. Lessons involving self-worth may lead you to a new understanding of your past wounds and traumas, which in itself may lead you to a greater understanding of your own psyche as a whole. We also have the Sun sextile Pluto. This is a very harmonious aspect which makes people very decisive. Pluto is intense, and the Sun is your heart, your legacy, how you feel about the way you're presenting yourself to the world and how you want to be seen by the world. In general, though, it can also make you a little stubborn. Pluto rules Scorpio and the Sun rules Leo, which are both fixed signs, and the properties of fixed signs can influence this transit. There is a tendency to manipulate or try to influence others at a subconscious level. That's the Pluto part of it. But in general, you will be able to heal very well at this time. So combined with the Venus Chiron aspect that we just spoke about, this is an excellent time for doing some real soul searching, some shadow work, and also physical healing. You may feel like you can achieve everything at this time, and you may be able to, but don't stoop to using nefarious methods. The next aspect we're going to talk about takes place on March 19th, when Venus will square Uranus. At this time, you may find unusual people coming into your life, and you may contemplate beginning relationships with them. You may also see that within a relationship that already exists, the relationship itself comes to symbolize a loss of freedom, that you want to express yourself more fully, or you just feel like the other person is holding you back in some way. The relationship itself, however, could also be unconventional, and this may make it difficult for you to feel like you fit in social settings. This may draw you deeper into the relationship with this more eccentric or unconventional person. The relationships that you're in may feel unstable at this time because of this desire that you have for freedom, and also because you may begin to see your partner in a much different light. It is a great time to do something unusual with your partner, like break out of the ordinary and do an activity together that you've never done before. So it's not a bad aspect. Usually anything with Venus is going to be pretty good, but squares are notoriously challenging. So just be aware, if you're in a relationship, you may get the urge to change things up. If you haven't been in a relationship and you meet somebody who's a little quirky and unconventional and even more not your type at all, you may find a quick fling happening in your life. On March 21st, Mercury will conjunct Saturn and Mars will sextile Chiron. First, I'll talk about Mercury conjunct Saturn. This gives rise to far-reaching thoughts. You may want to spend some time this day really daydreaming, really letting your mind just spin out to the furthest reaches of your imagination, because that's what this aspect is really for. You may find that you have a desire for learning and knowledge under topics that are much more philosophical than those that you're usually drawn to. You may also have a big desire for travel, or at least studying about travel. You may look into alternative religions or traditional religions. You may find that you're really drawn to new philosophers and want to study them. There's a love of a freedom of expression right now, and you also may be very concerned about the educational system at this time. Now, with Mars sextile Chiron, there will be past wounds that motivate you to take action and to make much needed changes. So going back to that initial Venus Chiron transit, the Mars sextile Chiron transit is going to actually help you put into action the things that you're learning about those past traumas and give you a chance to heal. In addition, the Mars sextile Chiron transit may just make you want to develop an organization or do a study of or create some kind of philanthropic project where it's related to wounds and obstacles that people have in overcoming the past. It's an interesting transit. Now on the 22nd, we have Mars squaring Uranus, and both of these planets can be quite volatile. So this is the aspect that is responsible for people acting in a very eccentric and individualistic way. They're both going to be in fixed signs, Aquarius and Leo. So we're going to have hot-headed tempers. We're going to have really, really strong feelings about our opinions. And this can lead to arguments. It could even lead to confrontations. A lot of this is going to push people into the political realm because we're talking about opinions, and then people want to take action to promote their opinions as facts. So you need to be a little careful during this time. Make sure that if you do have any activities planned, that there is a good practical plan for the activity, that it isn't just left up to the whims of the participants. And be aware of individuals who are exhibiting mood swings or being just too temperamental about having their way. This could lead to difficulties. At this time, people long for freedom, and they may take drastic measures in order to ensure that they protect their freedom. And that's what you want to be careful about. There's every reason to believe that this could be a very positive aspect. However, in the past, it has not been. And in the current political climate in the United States, there's just too many short fuses, shall we say, to just overlook this little tinderbox. All right, then on the 23rd, we have Mercury conjuncting Neptune. On March 23rd, we have Mercury conjuncting Neptune. Now, this is a transit which will stimulate your intuition, your desire for fantasy, your religious feelings, mystical abilities, sensitivity, and your general worldwide view. It will stimulate your artistic side, and it will also have you thinking in a very idealistic way. Life can't always be dealt with in an idealistic way. Much more often, we have to deal with life in a practical way, and we have to take care of our material needs, like food, clothing, and shelter. At this time, you're not concerned with those things. You're concerned with artistic expression and beautiful things and escaping reality. So your intuition and inspiration will very often be linked to speaking and communicating. So I would use that power during this transit to talk to people, to inspire them, to share your ideas, but not to believe that your ideas on this day about living life in kind of a fantasy way is at all practical, because it's not. Now on the 24th, we have Mercury sextile the North Node. Now, this aspect to Mercury is going to lead you to embrace new ideas and share them with people. You may have connections that are of a much wider social sphere than usual, and you may desire to expand your understanding of who those people are. In other words, you just want to learn more about people. And this is going along also with the aspect with Jupiter, Mercury conjunct Jupiter on the 21st. So it's an idea that the world is very large, and where you sit in your little community usually only gives you a bird's eye view of your little community. But there's a lot more out there, and that's where your focus is really starting to go during the Mercury sextile North Node. This is also good for personal transformation. So if you find that the interactions that you're making with new people who may seem exotic and unusual to you may allow you to more easily go into this new transformation. On March 26th, we have Mercury squaring Black Moon Lilith. Now remember that Black Moon Lilith is not a planet. She is a point that refers back to the moon's orbit and her relationship to the orbit of other planets. Black Moon Lilith can represent things we hide from ourselves, and also anger and trauma that we keep hidden. Things that we keep hidden from others and from ourselves. So with Mercury squaring it, squares are challenging, and they also stir things up and they create events. So in stirring things up, you may find that anger and trauma causes you to speak out in a harmful way. You may have very erratic and intense urges that are being stirred up at this time, and you don't really want to let these come to the surface, but under this aspect, they may come up to the surface, and then you'll need to deal with them. So you want to use creative work like that Neptune transit to channel this into some creative expression. You do need to deal with the pain and the emotion of those past hurts and those past wounds, but not by hurting other people. You need to deal with it personally. And once you do, then you may be able to help others work through these same issues. Also, on March 26th, we have Mercury sextile Pluto. This is a very harmonious aspect that gives people strong, clear opinions. Their sphere of interest is quite broad. You may be interested about anything from geology to space, just everything in between. The idea here with this aspect is that you will be driven to share your ideas and your concepts and your philosophies about these topics with other people. And this will tend to cause you to influence those people as well. So a lot of minds could be changed during the Mercury sextile Pluto transit. On the 28th, we have Venus conjuncting Saturn. Now, people who have this conjunction in their birth chart often find it difficult to really build strong relationships. They tend to feel like they're unlucky in love. But once relationships are actually established, they're quite stable and long-lasting because Saturn is the builder. Saturn brings structure. Saturn also brings commitment. The problem during this transit is that you may feel like you cannot trust your feelings, like it's just too good to be true, or you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So the only reason for a partner to be not good enough or unfaithful or whatever is usually not that they're a bad person. It's usually something that's gone wrong in the relationship, and very often by doubting a relationship and feeling suspicious or unworthy in a relationship really is the common cause that drives people away. So you want to believe in yourself, you want to be calm about this, and you want to use this time maybe to talk over your commitment in the relationship, maybe to talk over fears that you have about the stability of the relationship, or perhaps you want to talk about what is the relationship, what's the definition of the relationship, and do we want to take it to the next level. That's a positive use of the Venus conjunct Saturn energy. And then on March 31st, we have Venus squaring the North Node. So It isn't easy to find your higher purpose, and everybody usually spends most of their life trying to figure it out, or sometimes like the first half of their life trying to figure it out, and then the other half really trying to fulfill whatever they feel their destiny is. Sometimes people get very frustrated in this quest and they begin to blame others for not being able to find it. So if you have been blaming others for your inability to reach your higher goals, you need to go within and be careful that you're not just missing what's going on all around you. Sometimes it helps to talk with a trusted friend or even an expert in the field to see if there's something going on that you're missing because of your perspective, and that can help you broaden your horizons and embrace what's going on around you so that you can let go of the blame and step into the universe and your higher purpose. On April 1st, we have a full moon in Virgo. I love this full moon because it's my moon. My moon is in Virgo. Although I was not born on a full moon in Virgo, I was born with moon in Virgo. At this time, our feeling of safety is related to order and clarity and an evenness in our emotions. You may feel like you have a strong need to organize everything, especially in the face of chaotic and disorganized thinking or activities. During the moon in Virgo, it's important to be more tolerant and accepting of the imperfections of life, and also not to be terrified of looking at your dark side. Now remember, we had some transits with Black Moon Lilith, and these transits will tend to expose the dark hidden side of Black Moon Lilith, which for some people is extremely alarming. But if you can do some shadow work and get in touch with your dark side, then you can include all that was happening to you during your childhood and begin to understand the lessons from those activities that were dark and that you felt either ashamed of or that you just didn't want to acknowledge. Suppressing problems is not healthy for your body, and allowing those passions or those traumas or wounds to come to the surface and be healed can very often help one in their adult life. Now, a lot of times the things that are coming to the surface are not just wounds, but they may be urges that one has that people have been made to feel are bad in some way. Getting to the root of why you've been told or why you feel these things are bad is also really, really important. But now may be the time in your life when you're able to do that. And that helps you heal, to release the guilt and the shame and the resentment and the burden of feeling bad about oneself for wanting something. Anything that we want, as long as it's no harm to others, is not bad. It's just a matter of letting go of the social mores that have been imposed on you, telling you they're bad. Now, for more information about the full moon in Virgo, please see my video, which will be up on YouTube also. And I'm so glad that you tuned in. Thank you for being a subscriber, and I'll see you next time.